What's up?
Nah, man, I was online and I started reading this thing about Hasbro, and they were talking about the elections in the United States and how they were doubling down on their DEI and their progressive views and stuff. And I almost took the bait until I realized it was a fake post. But then that left me thinking, what's going on?
How will the hobby change with this?
Yeah. So I think in today's episode we are going to
Rant a little bit. Yeah.
and discuss a little bit on how we envision maybe the future or what's up and coming for one of our favorite hobbies, Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Eugene,
And I'm Eddie. And we are
the Middle-Aged
Middle-Aged
Barbarians. Here on Middle-Aged Barbarians, we cover a wide array of topics, from tips and tricks on how to run your games, class and monster analysis, media and adventure reviews, and news updates. So whether you're new to the RPG scene, or a seasoned player, an aspiring DM in the making, or a jaded veteran like us,
We invite you to stick around and watch this pair of guys be barbaric and tear your boredom to shreds.
all right. So there's been a lot of bullshit, a lot of drama in general. Yeah, people losing their minds, thinking that everything's gonna end. We're gonna be hunted in the streets. Just
Well,
crazy.
you're blonde. You're not going to be hunted on the streets.
I live in Mexico. Of course, I want to be hunted. No. Yeah, and then I see this article, and I should have known better.
Of course.
I don't know if I should disclose where I actually read it, but it looked good.
Yeah, I read it as well. And
I sent it to you guys, and you looked at it, and nobody
I mean,
questioned it.
It sounded convincing. It sounded like regular corporate bullshit. I mean, the parody was on point. That
Yeah.
was-
And when satire is hard to distinguish from reality, I think that's a little worrisome.
yeah, of course.
So basically, what this message, because like Eddie says, it was a fake corporate message from our friends over in
Hasbro. Not Hasbro, yeah.
Hasbro, and they were talking about how, in spite of the presidential results in the United States
Well, the whole political landscape, not just...
and the political landscape, that they are going to be practically double downing on their views of inclusivity and equality and diversity. I mean, it mentions more Magic the Gathering, but that goes hand in hand, I think, with their views of D&D. And all the comments underneath it, I don't know if they were just, shit talking too, or if some of them actually went with it and fell for it. But it's scary that you think that's like something possible. I don't know. I saw a video about this guy who actually grabbed all the books and opened up and went through the artwork in the books and divided the artworks and categorized them by what type of person was the main focus of the art. I don't know if I sent that to you
Yeah,
guys.
will you send it? Yes.
And I think out of the hundreds of art pieces, maybe 17 were quote unquote maybe like white dudes. Everything else was either a female or a person of color, or just something where the white guy was in the background, if you could even consider it to be quote unquote white.
It's complicated what white means as well.
Yeah. But he was contrasting this, which was the interesting. He wasn't just bitching. He was contrasting it with actual
editions.
video footage. No, of like the ultimate. I don't know if they're not Comic-Cons, but like the big conventions
And the actual players.
and the actual demographic of the people that are here in those conventions and that play the hobby. And the critique was, why are you trying to alienate or push away your fan base?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is to include, but another thing is, like you said, alienate, because, I mean, maybe you want to represent more people, well, add more people of color and so forth, but not replace completely. I guess that would be my call.
We've mentioned this before. I never once felt that this was a hobby that excluded anyone or pushed anyone away.
Well, at the end of the day, it's open to you. You can change the game to suit your actual fantasy. So, I mean, it does feel like corporate bullshit that forced inclusion. I do feel it. I do feel it as that. As a more lefty leaning guy, it does feel very disingenuous.
Did you see the picture he posted of the people that actually work there?
Oh yeah, same. There's like an Asian woman in arts. That's the only.
And that's the most diverse image that was there.
Yeah.
Even in all the other reveal videos, I think she was the only one that was different, if you want to call that even something to be noteworthy. It's stupid, man. It's absurd. It's tiresome.
I wanted to tell you something about another role playing game. I don't know if you're familiar with Cyberpunk. It's a Cyberpunk role playing game.
I've never played it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, Poundsmith, the creator, he's black. Okay. Something that nobody would even imagine, but the creator is black, and he never made kind of a big point of that. I mean, there are obviously people of color in the game because it's cyberpunk and thematically makes sense. But Michael Poundsmith, I forgot Poundsmith is his last name. I forgot his first name. So I'm guessing that's what I feel a little bit odd about this. Like we made fun of that when we saw the Latinx. I hate that term.
Yeah.
The Latinx orcs, that was like insane. Coding them like.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's not this overt racism. It's this like just subpar racism that we're gonna throw in there.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, to put it in terms of theories and so forth, have you ever heard of decolonialization? That's a whole movement that happens, obviously not in America because America is a colonial power, but even then, sort of what they call DEI there.
Well, I'm imagining that's like kind of, I may be wrong, don't quote me. Like I think something happened in Dominican Republic a little while back where they started getting rid of the whiter people and the quote unquote locals or the more ethnically from their people just got really violent and got them all out.
Stuff like that. Stuff like, for instance, here in Mexico, all those movements to remove statues of conquistadors, which does kind of make sense. A lot of them were really, really brutal people.
Right, but that's not going to change anything that happened.
No.
And there were many changes that, in spite of the negativities, would have been positives. Or are positives.
Even if you judge them with the barometer of today, yeah, at the end of the day, to quote a very cancelable man, Octavio Paz, he was terrible as well. His ex-wife was a better writer. So I'll die on that hill. Her name's Elena Garro. Check her out. But Octavio Paz said that at the end of the day, we're the sons and daughters of that union.
Yeah.
Be it as it may.
We wouldn't be where we're at if those things wouldn't have happened the way they would have happened.
Yes. So, I mean, yeah, it kind of... Yeah, because I felt... I mean, probably, I don't know, maybe because it was coded more in a more neutral way, in a sense. Or maybe it's because it was... Even I read white as neutral back in the day, being that...
Look, when I was looking... our previous video was about clerics, and I was going back into previous editions to read what they were like. And I had found something in the introduction of the second edition book that never even registered with me when I was a kid.
Oh, the pronouns thing.
There was just like a small blip, not even a paragraph. It was like 3 or 4 lines where the book goes out of the way to say that within the writings of this book, it says something like, we will be using the pronouns he, him, just for linguistic simplicity, and that this in no way means that we are trying to exclude any females. Mm-hmm. And that was published, what was that, 1985?
Something like that, yeah.
It was back in the 80s. And it wasn't like this fake, let's purposefully use odd pronoun. No, we're just being clear. We're doing this. This isn't to push anybody out. It's just,
It's what it is.
It's what it is. So don't take it the wrong way. But now it seems like, oh no, let's do the opposite. Let's make it more controversial, and then F you if you don't like it or if you have a problem with it, and then we'll go after you.
You're a bad person if you dislike that.
Right.
Because a lot of the times, I mean, when I talk to you about that, you dislike those sort of things, but you don't actually hate them. They're like, it's annoying, but it's there.
Well, you have to be a little more specific.
Well, it's sort of the pronouns thing.
I don't care. I'd rather call you by your name if that's the case.
Yeah, but I remember that I told you that in third they went the other way. They use she.
But they didn't.
In a few books they did, didn't they?
They interchanged them, and I think one of the producers mentioned to us that sometimes if they base their writings on their pre-made characters, but even then, if you use he or she, look, I studied psychology here in Mexico.
You also studied gender studies. More than
I
me.
I did. I have a master's in violence intervention with gender enfoque de género,
Gender focus. Yeah.
whatever. Whenever somebody would come into the classroom, teacher, they would say, "Hi, girls," because we were two dudes and there
Of
were like
course.
30 some women.
I do the same thing with my students because I have like two dudes as well, and they're like,
What's the point? What's the point of getting upset? I'm not going to be like, "Hey, no, I'm a dude. You got to say girls and guys."
in Spanish, it's actually sort of an official rule that it should be male if it's neutral. But I mean,
Right, but what I dislike is this idea that I'm gonna fight with everybody because I don't like what's going on. Like everybody's on edge. It's getting to a point of absurdity, and it does kind of suck because it makes me feel like it's gonna have a blowback, at least on D&D, which it may or may not. I don't know. I'm also uncertain. I heard the other day that there was an official report that this is the best-selling edition, better than Tasha's.
listen, I heard otherwise.
And then you hear other sources saying no. People that go into how they're sold, like they go into the big companies and the digital sales and all this. And there was one guy, I'm trying to remember what his channel was called. And he even goes to say like there were 133 editions of Tasha sold, and that there were maybe 30,000 of the 2014 when it was first sold the first week, and that this page that he's on only shows maybe 3,000 physical copies. But then you go in the comments and people are actually very positive toward the edition. So it's just all misinformation. It's just all a cluster of voices and contradictions and people just fighting it. It's just the hell, man. It's just getting really annoying.
Yeah, and something that you mentioned, because like we've talked sometimes, I have played more Magic than you. It's interesting because Magic was always in. I think the main problem with D&D is that Magic, in contrast to D&D, always had that ingredient. They were really explicit from the beginning to be very gender inclusive and so forth.
When? I remember playing since, I played for a little while. It was Ice Age, Homelands, I think 3rd edition. Revised was the earliest I got to play, maybe. And then I dropped out after, I think, Alliance. Or I probably mixed up the timeline.
They started doing, for instance, one of the main heroes is a black man, but it's not a big deal. He's just a black dude. He's from the equivalent of an African nation, Teferi.
Okay.
He's one of the main heroes, and he's black, and
okay.
Yeah, like that. Okay, yeah. And there's like a few transgender characters, but it's like if you see the card, you wouldn't even know. It's just a character, and if you read the backstory and the lore they publish, it's an option. So yeah, it gets a little complicated, and I think the problem is that it needn't be. You can even make a special edition or special supplements for that if you want to focus on that as an additional ingredient to your game. But it doesn't have to be the main thing.
Now, maybe we're overstepping a little bit with what I'm going to try to ask you. It is fact there will be a push for certain social changes with what happened in the previous elections. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I can't even find words to express.
Are they going to go, for instance, back to a classic edition to make it more heteronormative, to use those sort of terms, or what do you mean?
Would that be so bad?
No.
I know there's a big push for like the OG revival and just using previous editions, and we've even said here before, if you're not happy with the way it is, go play a different edition.
Yeah, you have tons of options.
Personally, I've gotten both books that are out. I've gone out of the way to get the alternate covers because I like them more. I don't like
They're very beautiful.
yeah, I don't like the standard. I mean, they're not ugly, but I don't like them. I like the alternate ones more. And I could give a rat's ass what the art inside is personally because I'm not looking at it for the art. But all the noise around it is what I don't understand. Why would a company like forcibly be so incisive in this?
Well, I mean, it kind of became a sort of marketing strategy in America, or even here a little bit, to be a little bit political. But yeah, it's really unnecessary.
But do you see that changing with what's happening now on a geopolitical scale?
I'm guessing the smart move would be to sort of support a different edition and make it more classic.
Did you hear? This is totally unrelated, and sorry for.
It's cool.
Apparently, there was a switch in. I'm not going to say her name, but let's say it's a controversial female politician in the United States who removed her pronouns from her X profile.
No,
and people just latched onto it. I'm like, who cares?
I mean, that's sort of political thing. At the end of the day, you have to go back to the.
Although I find it funny because they were a big proponent of all. They were one of the four horsemen. I don't know how they called themselves.
Oh, the squad?
Yeah, the squad or whatever. And then there's just so much shit online about, oh, she took away her pronouns from her bio. And I'm like, why were they there in the first place?
If he doesn't have their pronouns, how do you know it's a her? I'm messing with you.
You present as you present. That's the way you're going to be treated.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah,
that's the way I see it. If you walk up to me and you look like a dude, I'm going to openly treat you as a dude. If you express differently, if you ask, and I'm in a good mood, then maybe. If it's just too much bullshit to handle, then I'll just walk away.
Yeah, I have a couple of students that are NBs. I mean, they present mostly.
NB is non-binary. Just
they present mostly female, but in Spanish it's hard to have neutral pronouns, so they kind of alternate. And I mean, it's cool. And they actually they present differently when they feel more boyish. They how do you call it? Use raps to.
So these are biological females.
Definitely females. Yes.
That are androgynous and fluid in their nature.
Exactly. And yeah, they use and what the good thing is, they told me. I mean, we don't care. We use whichever pronoun we feel like it, but we don't care whichever pronoun you choose to use for us. So that's cool, I guess. But
I don't know. Sometimes I do wish we were back in the early 90s. I don't know. Maybe it's just the tint of the rose tint of the glasses, looking back in the past. And I never thought this was an issue. Even back then, I mean, I remember watching cartoons and watching TV. And as a kid, it would be, now I'm probably dating myself, but you'd watch like Different Strokes, or you'd watch The Cosbys, or you'd watch, I don't know, Full House.
You shouldn't
Step by Step.
You shouldn't mention Bill Cosby, my friend.
This was before. This was before.
Speaking of that sort of annoying thing.
But the show was good.
Yeah, of course it was.
And I could give two shits the color of the person on the screen. I don't get it anymore, man. I'm tired of this shit. No,
I guess
seriously.
I get it. I guess that's the final. Yeah, and the worst thing for me, which is more annoying, which is kind of a big American struggle, seeing it here being exported, is extra annoying for me.
Oh, here, yeah, the racism here, it's like
it's different.
It's very different. It's not the same structure.
No, it's a different style of racism. Yeah, and but they trying to, the equivalent of a social justice warrior, trying to use that annoying social justice warrior from here, trying to use the American standards. It's so abhorrent.
Now, going back a little bit to D&D, maybe just not focus so heavily on everything being so diverse. Like, forcing the diversity is what just is tiring.
Or maybe it would make sense if it's part of a setting, for instance. That would be pretty cool. A kind of pseudo queer coded setting.
But then wouldn't you just make a new IP?
Yeah, I think that's also one of the problems. Like we've talked about Fourth, that it would have been better as a new IP rather than.
Well, I think Fourth was just before its time. Because it was more no, it's more focused on virtual tabletops and the quick style play.
Every episode, every rant ends up in Fourth.
No. Stay away from Fourth. I don't know. I think it's stupid. I wish people would stop getting
So riled up and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's just. But then again, the satire seems real, and that's scary too. It's like, just stop, man.
Yeah, stop trying to hard.
I don't think they give two shits about any people.
No,
except their people and their money.
And their money, but yeah, that's what feels bad. It's disingenuous. If it was kind of natural, like I told you, like it was just, it feels forced. That's the main problem. So that's what we dislike, and that's why we fell for some sorts of satire.
Yeah, because then I tried looking up an actual statement from them.
An actual press release, yeah.
And there was nothing there.
Yeah, I mean, we should link that maybe so that you can read, or
I'm sure a lot of people have already read it. It's a very
popular,
heavily trafficked site.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So yeah, let's just go back to basics. Let's go back to using the word race instead of species.
To having actual evil things.
To having good and evil. To having clear-cut morality. Why was the term? I was thinking about this as well. This whole ancestry or species. Which, talking with our friends, there's people who are, no, linguistically it's more correct to say blah, 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 blah. Are we not human race? Would that not be where that came from? We are the human race.
Yeah, of course.
We're not distinguishing
ethnicities,
but we are human race. We are the same animal. Human race, elven race, dwarven race. That was the point. There's no racism. It's more of this fabrication and putting the bullshit into the game and the community, and it's just.
And why not use both terms?
Well, I use them both interchangeably because I have
use both.
The bad habit of not giving a shit. I don't know. And so yeah, just go back. Let's go back to hard set alignments. If you don't follow the faith, you lose your divine powers.
If you break your paladin oaths,
you become a blackguard. Producer just walked in and he has no idea what we're talking about.
I'm reminded to. Yeah, I guess a lot of the problem is this. We have the baggage of these older settings. I remember this setting called Unearthed Arcana by Monte Cook that they did. He did it as a parallel version of Third, and he issued alignment. But since the set was built from the ground up and it was something completely different, it made sense. Yeah, a lot of it is this being very jury rigged and painted over and patching stuff, and it kind of doesn't make sense. Trying to change things to stuff that it isn't, because D&D has always been a struggle good versus evil.
Ideally, or being evil.
Or being evil if you're an edgelord and you wear mascara and stuff like that.
I just wanted to spew a little bit and rant and
maybe if you want to rant to us, maybe we're completely wrong.
Yeah, feel
free.
Let us know. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to mention or talk about.
I'm good.
So that's
appropriate the means of production, I guess. That's what what I would add.
Here, let me change the color for you. Oh no,
it's
red.
Red.
It's red. We're appropriate.
It's left hand.
Yeah. He's on my left, which I'm on your left, but I'm on
the right. Yes.
I'm on the right. Anyway, all right. So hopefully we'll see you next episode.
Yeah. Take care and.
Well, no, we got to do the outro. So let's do the outro.
The outro now. So that's the end of the video. If you haven't already, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and please feel free to leave us your comments, suggestions, and questions below.
Also, come follow us on our other social media, like Instagram, TikTok, and join us on Discord over on the Indie Hobby server. Links in the description below.
And as always, remember to rage responsibly. We'll see you in the next episode.